Today I'm going to be learning more about Norway by watching this video, a super quick history of Norway. So yeah, learning about Norwegian history. Tell me, what is the most interesting part of Norwegian history in your opinion? Interested to see this? Let's check it out.
Everyone, and welcome to... This is Europe, and here's Norway. Now let's have a look, shall we? As the stiff, bitter grip of the last ice age began to slacken, human beings stepped onto the Norwegian coast, and there eked out a frost-bitten living as hunter-gatherers. New settlers arrived centuries later and introduced farming, and the area progressed into a Bronze Age and then an Iron Age that in turn birthed a number of small kingdoms, which we don't know a whole lot about apart from the semi-mythical records of the Icelandic sagas. And during all this time, the people grew more and more acquainted with the sea, a relationship that characterized the next and most famous portion of Norway's history, the Viking Age. For some reason, in the 8th century, no one's exactly certain why, the inhabitants of the Norselands took to the seas and began attacking, plundering, and enslaving all over the place. Not only were these Vikings feared fighters, but they were also skilled navigators. The Norwegian Eric the Red sailed to Greenland in the late 900s and established settlements, and his son journeyed further to what's now Canada. These were the sort of ships they were building. This one here is an excellently preserved specimen unearthed in 1904. The quality of craftsmanship is strikingly obvious.
It's actually quite amazing when you think about it for that time period, and getting things that are so precise or so intricate. It's fantastic. Like, yeah, what do you learn about the Viking history of Norway in school and that sort of thing as well? What's the most interesting part of that history? That's definitely something I want to learn more about. Being Scottish, something we share, because Vikings, I think, from Norway, as that map suggests, arrived in Scotland as well, and certain places in Scotland still have Viking celebrations and that sort of thing as well. So something I find very interesting. What's the most interesting part of that time in history for you?
Obvious. Tradition holds that in the 9th century, Harold Fairhair became the first king of a united Norway. His son had the charmingly pleasant name of Eric Bloodaxe. Over time, Christianity began to permeate the region and spread at a quicker pace after the reign of Olaf II, who was later canonized as a saint and had this Gothic cathedral built over his burial site. After a tumultuous civil war, the Kingdom of Norway achieved its pinnacle in the 1200s under...
Okay, so did Norway, is that saying that Norway basically had power over certain parts of what is now modern day Scotland? I actually never knew that. Kind of makes sense, maybe the islands up here, but this is actually the mainland of Scotland. That's something I don't know about, so tell me more about that if you do know.
1200s, under Håkon IV, the country was decimated by the Black Death in the mid-1300s, and under Margaret I in 1397, Denmark, Norway and Sweden joined together as the Kalmar Union, in response to the German economic powerhouse known as the Hanseatic League of Merchants, who already had a firm footing in Norway, dominating trade in the city of Bergen. The union lasted till 1523, when Sweden broke away, and thus it became known as Denmark-Norway. Not a very imaginative name, but whatever. Meanwhile, amidst the Reformation, Protestant Christianity succeeded in replacing the Catholic Church in the territory. After being championed by Christian III, under Christian IV, Denmark-Norway warred with Sweden over geo-economics, and then entered the 30 Years' War over geopolitics. But Christian IV was unsuccessful in his ambitions after losing this battle against the Holy Roman Empire, and so he went back to bickering with Sweden, concerned at that country's increasing power. And what do you think happened next? I'll give you a clue. It starts with W. That's right. Water skiing. Fun for everyone. No, of course not. Fun for no one, except maybe Sweden, who won the war and gained more land. So horrible was this loss for Denmark. Yes, Norway was pretty much just a colony of Denmark at this point, that more non-water skiing attempts at getting the ground back were made, but none of them succeeded. Anyway, in the 19th century, no sooner was Norway freed from Danish rule than it was taken over by Sweden. Entered into a personal union with Sweden. Though their aspirations for independence were thwarted for the present, the Norwegian people did not lose hope, and nationalism blossomed through the rosy lenses of the Romantic movement. As the population surged and the economy thrived, the merchant fleet expanded, and industrialization thrust the nation into modernity. In 1905, Norway, at long last, separated from Sweden and became a sovereign country. They even got a new king, complete with a splendid mustache. Norwegian explorers became the first to reach the South Pole in 1911, and while...
They've become I never actually knew that. So Norwegian explorers first to the South Pole, but it just shows how long Norway's had that influence in exploration right back to the Vikings. Norway, a country of explorers. And like learning about this, yeah, there's a lot more war than I expected as well. Being from Scotland, we had a lot of wars, of course, with England and other countries as well. But interesting to know Norway has a lot of history with that as well.
South Pole in 1911, and while Norway remained neutral in World War I, the Second World War saw the Germans invade in April 1940, and the Norwegians were like, "No way!" and the Germans were like, "Yes way!" and took control. After the war, Norway made rapid economic progress, and though it was a founding member of NATO, it chose not to join the EU. Norway today is one of the richest and freest countries in the world, and sits at the very top of the Human Development Index, with a very high quality of life, a very low crime rate, and a socio-economic setup that is the envy of the world. And just to show off some more, it's also...
Wait, just with regards to not joining the EU, what was the reason for that? And I guess it's been a very good decision. What do you think about that?
It's also really beautiful. And we can't forget about Norway's accomplishments, the greatness it has produced in the realms of art and music, in science, in literature, and in sport. Norway has won more gold medals in the Winter Olympics than any other country. Not bad for a nation that promotes penguins to high ranks in the military. So that's it for Norway, and that's all from me for now. Bye-bye!
Yeah, fantastic. Like, such a interesting history. So much success as well. Like, tell me what you think about that. It must make you very proud to be Norwegian. Country that's so small, and you see like the influence it's had on culture, whether it's sport, literature, and so on. At the end, there are so many famous and important people. But yeah, just a very interesting history. What do you think about it? What's your like favourite part of Norwegian history? What should I learn more about? Thanks.